the black hole. Sing for my soul.
Hi guys, and welcome back to another episode of Sunshine on Leyth. It's the analysis day. It's the end of season 3. So I thought we'd just do the usual, go through the squad very briefly, then do the stats, then have a look at some of the players, sort of see where we need to improve. I kind of already know. This is not one of these summers where it's really much of a mystery to me. I think there's certain areas of this team where we absolutely need to be better, and I have some good ways about going about doing so. Now, as a Ben Donnelly Blackburn, who's considered the best player at the club, I feel like he's performed well below that. Now, it's interesting that that's the case, to be honest, but the problem I think we've got with him is that he doesn't enjoy big matches. Now, I want to compare him to the new guy this is Nicky Pratt. So, Nicky Pratt is the guy in blue here, who is the guy I've got on trial. Now, I don't know what kind of contract... Hang on, bid from who? Oh, okay, yeah, of course, because we've got him on trial, haven't we? So, he's taller, left-footed, slightly heavier, but if we actually look at attributes, this is kind of what really matters, because we're obviously playing defensive... Okay, yeah, it's wing-back support. Okay, cool. I always forget that. It's when you have multiple saves going, you get a bit confused. So, he's better at crossing, worse at dribbling. First touch is the same, marking slightly worse, passing slightly worse, tackling tiny bit worse, everything else slightly better, basically. But he does have better technique, anticipation is worse, concentration is the same, decision is definitely a lot better, off the ball is better, positioning is worse, teamwork is much better. Teamwork and work rate. This seems to be where Nicky Pratt really excels. Now, his pace is almost as good. Acceleration is better. Agility and balance are the same. He's not as good in the air and he's not as fit, but he does have that work rate and teamwork. And I don't know. I wonder if trying something slightly different next season might not be the worst thing in the world. He's also 4 years younger. And that is kind of another factor for me, that he's got room to grow into, and he might be available cheaper as a result of being 4 years younger. So that's just that's a thing for another time to perhaps look at. So Ben Elderkin obviously hasn't played for us at all this year. He's still at the club as a non-contract player, but he'll probably leave soon. One of the few guys that are remained over from the original part of the save, which is nice. Niall Ellis hasn't really had much of a season for us this season. It was good for us last year, just could not quite do it for us in a higher division, and that's fine. That sort of thing happens. We'll probably release him in the summer as well. Connor Emery, he's done okay when he's been called into on it, in all honesty. 3 starts and 3 goals and 2 assists. You can't really complain about that. That's not even that bad. Non-contract, so he's not costing us too much either. Reece Fife, he's the sort of player that will probably go in the summer. He doesn't really play. He's probably on too much of a non-contract basis. I'd rather just have youth players fill those roles, to be honest. Jack Holmes, he does have a contract until next summer, so that's okay. He's done okay. He's improving in a lot of areas, but he's never really got to grips with his role, and that's a problem for me. Kasimba, I think he's done all right this season. I think maybe he lacks that big match mentality for a start, and also maybe his height is actually starting to hinder him from winning those balls for the midfield, and maybe that's costing us in places. I don't know. We'll have to have a look at that one. Ruben Lau, I still think he's had a phenomenal season. He's got a contract until next year as well. He just looks like the real deal. We need another defender like Ruben Lau. Why can't everyone be more like Ruben? That's all we want from him. Now, he does lack a lot of things in terms of like his first touch. Like, there's a lot. He's just a no-nonsense, excellent defender, and that's kind of what we want from our defenders. Lesko, of course, doesn't play for us. Luto is a similar story. Kevin Lyle, come in relatively recently, hasn't actually scored a goal for us yet, but I don't know. It's another interesting one. Sort of players that we could maybe let go just to clear up some space with the non-contracts and whatnot. Ben Mills, it's another sort of similar story. This year, 14 goals, 6 assists. It's certainly not going to be like last season, that's for sure, but I still trust him, to be honest. I still think he's got something about him, but maybe using him as a pressing forward isn't the best idea because he does lack a lot of the... Maybe we should just go with an advanced forward and a poacher. Try that out for next season, because you can see there's a definite drop-off here. Same number of assists, but he's just not scored anywhere near as many goals as he did last season. That's just undeniable. Mottram, however, has somehow been better this year, and has actually really stepped up quite nicely, to be honest. I say fringe player, but let's face it, the guy's got 18 goals for us in the league. He's still like a 1-in-2 scorer for us. This season, his record has been... Well, actually, he scored less goals this season than he did last year. I didn't realise that, but it's in a higher division. And he's got assists to his game. He's done, wow, he did really well last year. He kind of went under the radar, to be honest, because of how good his teammate was. Shay O'Donovan, obviously not too much to say about him. Luke O'Reilly, only 9 clean sheets. Actually conceded quite a lot of goals. And I do wonder if maybe we could look for another keeper and move this guy on in the summer, to be honest, because there's certainly something there that's not working for us. We also need to sign another striker anyway, because we're lacking players. Miles Orme is another youth player that's just never quite managed to do it. Matthew Overton, obviously a striker we signed in the first season of this save, and it's just never really hit the ground running for us. Jacob Owen, his contract's up this summer, and I'm not entirely sure about renewing it or not. I don't know. We'd have to do some comparisons there. He wants to commit his future, but he may have to take a lower wage. And that's fine. If he will take a lower wage, then I will happily give him a new contract. Like, if we could get that down to like 150 because he's not playing as much, then I'd be fine. Andres Perez de Gracia, I actually think he's been all right this year, in all honesty. He's a youngster. There's still a lot for him to learn, but I think he's quite a good versatile player to have. He's tall. He's got okay physical attributes for a 19-year-old. Some decent technical side in certain areas as well. I actually kind of like him. His determination is improving. I'm not opposed to him being a good player for us. Ben Hunt-McKiley. This is a guy who has just had the strangest season of his damn career. Like, in all honesty, I can't believe how this guy has progressed. Like, let's just take a look at his actual progress since May 2021. It's a shame we can't see any further than that. But like, he briefly got up there, and then he's just been slowly. I mean, bravery's gone down by 2. Presumably because of the injuries and stuff. His 17 aggression would make sense as to why he's so incredibly vicious a lot of the time. We definitely need to sort something out with him. I'm hoping over the summer, just taking a break from things, getting him back into football can really start to get something out of him for next season. Because he was so good that one season, and I want to get back to that, you know. I'm hoping for that for next season. Harry Shepherd, I've been all right with. To be honest, determination's improving nicely, which is, wow, this is actually, it's unusual to see this actually going up for once, but he's done okay. Despite being 5'7", he does seem to do a lot better job in the air compared to Raphael Shea, which is interesting. Although I might be proved wrong. It just feels like he does. Jacob Tabram barely played, non-contract. He may leave as well. I think we can clear up a lot of space just by doing that. So that's fine. Don't know what kind of budget we're going to be working with for next season, because we're not in the best shape financially due to going out of the cups quite early this year and paying players a lot more money. So I think my main task in the summer is going to be clear out the dead wood, get a lot of players that are on higher contracts, either lower contracts or sell them, and try to sort of stabilise the club financially for next season whilst trying to bring through some young talent as well, because we're not getting anything for our own academy. We need to find some more Putman-Kiteleys, basically. That's our main situation here, is trying to find more players like him. Thomas van Ommeren, obviously one of the youngsters, again, hasn't played, probably never will, unfortunately. Scott Wardley, bless him. Bless him, bless him, bless him. He did make a couple of appearances this season, obviously before we signed my man. Harrison Webster, he just lacks the technical attributes, really, to play that role. That's what it simply comes down to. He just does not have the aggressive. He doesn't have the attacking attributes that we want. But I still think that he's worth keeping around because he's got good physicals. He's still only young. Still got lots of room to improve. There could still be something there. Robert Whitten, he's a weird one. Like, I really liked him towards the start of the season, and he definitely seemed to have something about him. But he does seem to have just started to fade away a little bit now. And I'm not sure if it's the right decision to. I don't know. He's the sort of player that could maybe leave. Depends on what we can find. Ellis Williamson, he did a pretty stellar job coming in for Ben Mills, to be honest, when he was injured for that little period. He's a useful player to have around just because he's an okay striker that could do a job for us, and he's on a non-contract basis. But it's, again, something we need to look at. Jordan Wynn has barely played for us this season, despite being quite a solid rock the season before. There's a lot to take a look at with these guys. We've got quite a big squad. We've got Harrison Adcock as well, who won't play ever for us. Ben Blythe is another of those guys that has got decent attributes, but he's so far down the pecking order that he's just never found his way into the squad. However, actually, he's on actual money too, and his contract expires at the end of the month, so he might not stay either. Raphael Shea, you can see why he's worse in the air than Harry Shepherd. And he's kind of just worse in every way compared to Harry Shepherd, unfortunately. So we may have to take a look at that, though he hasn't started that many games, to be fair. And we're back to Ben Donnelly Blackburn. So let's go check a look at the actual league stats, I suppose. So average possession, wow, they averaged 61% possession. Ours is sort of middle of the road, which is fine. Southport had 10 penalties. To be fair, we had 6. And Guiseley had none. Headers won were usually right down towards the bottom. Very much so, in fact. That right there could well be the biggest problem. We don't have enough taller players in this squad. The squad is far too diminutive to be playing the kind of football we're playing at this level. And I do think that height is going to be a factor I take into consideration when I sign players in this summer particularly. Because, I mean, look at that. 53% headers won ratio is the worst in the league. And the actual pure number of headers is comfortably the worst. And I think that's because we've got quite quick players in a lot of positions, but just not enough players to... The simplest thing you can do sometimes is just win the ball higher up the pitch with a knockdown, just to keep that possession higher up the pitch, and maybe that's cost us. 102 yellow cards. Only just worse than Blackhaven, in fact. Red cards, though, 7. 7 red cards this season. That'll cost you. That will cost you quite a bit. Top goal scorers, Blackhaven. But this is the thing. We're right in terms of playoffs, or in terms of that, we're at the right end of the league when it comes to goals scored. Like, we are a good goal-scoring team. We've got goals in us, and I think we could actually score more goals too, which is a good sign. Cross-completion ratio, lower than it should be, really, and that could be an issue. And again, that might come from the fact that we don't have that added height. Crosses completed, again, even lower. Blackhaven smashing it, of course, towards the top. Goals from corners, 10. That's good stuff. That's more like it. We need to keep that up side of things. We need to make sure that we're scoring a decent amount from set pieces. Direct free kicks, None. Not a single one scored this season for us. That is a shame. And I wonder why. Because Kasimba is a better free kick taker than Ben Putman-Kiteley, yet Putman-Kiteley scored a load of free kicks. I wonder if we need to put him back on free kicks because maybe there's other things involved. We only scored 4 from indirect free kicks too. That's a real sign. Like, we are really lacking. Think of all the goals we could have if we could just get to top 5 in this. That's just so many extra points a season that we're dropping. I have now made some changes to our indirect free kick setup as well, so you may notice we improve on that next season. Pass completion ratio, obviously comfortably the best. We have one of the worst as well. Passes completed, we're usually down towards the bottom again. Chances created. That, though, is a very good sign. We've created the second most amount of chances in the league still. We just need to put them in the back of the net. Very simply. Shots on target ratio, 55%. Again, phenomenal. That's good stuff. That's what you want. 9th in terms of shots on target overall, though. That could do with being a bit higher. We have the highest conversion rate in the league. Jesus. I mean, there's definitely something there. We could just sort ourselves out defensively. There could really be something to this. And this is the key thing for us. One of the worst defenses in the division. Honestly, we're only a goal away from being the second worst. That is something that has to change. And I think that will change next season. I think we will just get better at set pieces for a start, and I think we'll be better from open play because I will sign a couple of players that will make sure that we are, basically. Whether that become definitely a centre-back. Already want a centre-back. Goal conceded from corners. You can see 5. It's not the end of the world. That could be much worse, as you can see. So I'm not too bothered about that. It'd be nice if we could get it to 4 or 3, but that's not the end of the world. Direct free kicks, though, 3 is a bit bad. I would rather not concede 3 direct free kicks. 1 to me is about enough. 6 for Kettering is outstandingly bad, but this is where we really do suck. 11 goals from indirect free kicks. That's just not acceptable. We need to be like here. Just think about what we could be like if we conceded 7 less a season. That's really, really important. And it clearly can be done. Like, Altrincham only conceded 1 goal from direct free kicks this season. That says a lot for me. Something we need to look at. Clean sheets, one of the lowest in the league. We always seem to just concede a cheeky little goal here, and it's usually from a set piece. Fouls made? Wow, we're a foully bunch. Tackles made? Or at least we're winning a lot of tackles. Although not actually that much as a percentage compared to some of the others. Penalties conceded? 5. Still not, I mean, it's not as bad as some teams, but it still could be a lot better. Average attendance, 1,000. Not bad. Middle of the table. Not too bad there. By capacity, obviously ours is quite high. Boston United, really packing the people in. Blackhaven, somewhat struggling, it would be fair to say. No sellouts for us, of course. Only a couple for Boston, York, and Darlington. And the highest attendance, we had 2,000, which isn't bad. And Blackhaven, of course, had 3,000 for the derby, which makes perfect sense. Net transfer spend, well, I mean, we spent a little bit. But look at this, right? Blackhaven actually still spent less than York City last season. That's what I mean. They're doing well with not actually spending as much money as some of the other sides. Now, again, they'll get more sponsorship money for next season. I think it moves to like 3 million. So they're going to have decent money in the National League, but you need a bit more than that. I don't think Blackhaven will get promoted next season. I think they'll get in the playoffs, but I don't think they'll get promoted, which means if we can go up next season, which is a possibility, I feel like. If we make the right decisions, I think it's definitely doable. There's a definite good base and core here. I think we can end up playing Blackhaven the season afterwards. I don't know. Maybe they will go up. They have done in the past on some of my sims, so we'll never know. Anyway, let's look at the players ourselves. See if anyone stands out to us, particularly someone that's gone down, for example. In fact, while we're just doing that, let me just see who actually went down. So Southport, Blyth Beatons, and Gloucester City. Right, sorry about that. M was coming in clutch with the coffee there. So appearances, that's not really relevant. This one, I mean, look, that's obviously all going to be those guys. Yellow cards, the most in the... This is the thing, right? Putman-Kiteley didn't even get that many yellow cards. He just got pure reds almost the entire time. So, yeah, that's kind of weird. Jackman got 9, and he didn't even play that much. He only started 16 times for us. My God, what a filthy man. Jack Taylor got a fair few, but it was not as bad. It was like, well, last season we would have had players up here, to be honest. Red cards. Wow, there were 4 players this season got 3 red cards, and they were all relatively young. But Putman-Kiteley with 3 red cards is just shocking. Just think of how the amount of games he's missed as a result of that. Like, because he got 3-match ban, 4-match ban, 5-match ban. That is 12 matches that he's been suspended for this season. In fact, he may have even had 13 due to the fact that he got 5 yellow cards as well. And he's missed loads of games through injury. He only started 24 times for us this season. Crazy. Player of the Match awards, John Young, makes perfect sense. But Liam Mottram, not bad. Good to see him in there as well. Any of the relegated clubs have any players on there? I don't think they do. Anyway, distance covered. We want more to do with this one. Jackman, again, he was putting the shifts in. Although Putman-Kiteley, to be fair, does do that as well. He's still only 18, remember. There's a long way to come from the lad. Mottram's up there too. Ruben Lau, again, up there. Ben Mills. We've definitely got some good players around. Headers 1. Ruben Lau, again. But you notice how the others are nowhere to be seen. Like, not even close. Goal scorers in the league, John Young. It's good news. I mean, is there anyone from any of the relegated sides that are on here that we could potentially look at as an option for next season? It doesn't appear so. So there is that. Goals per minute, maybe? I don't know. Maybe there's someone in here that we could pick up that just could give us something a little extra for next. Bloody Alex Kempster, the guy that played for York. Doesn't look like it. Shots overall, Mason Bloomfield. Bloody hell. He scored against us, did he not? Got that equaliser for Chelmsford earlier this season. God, that could have been a huge goal. That goal was worth more than they thought, I think, at the time. Okay, so no one really on there for us either. Shots on target, Jong Young again. Mottram doing okay. 83 shots on target. I mean, you could argue, really, that Mottram's got a much better finishing rate just because he's had less shots in general. If we could have got him more shots. I mean, he's the top scorer in the league, and he's also had the most shots. That is a good sign. However, look at this, Mason Bloomfield. He's had nearly the same number of shots. He's only scored 9 goals. Shots on target percentage, 69% is very, very solid. That's insanely good. Really, really pleasing to see a player of ours actually have that. Conversion rate, again, Mottram's pretty decent. That's not a bad conversion rate. Even Putman Kitely, to be honest. Like 19% to have 3 players on there. I'll take that. It's just creating more of those opportunities, I think. This is, wow, Billy Knott scored 8 out of 8 in the penalties this season. Ben Mills scored 3 out of 5. That's actually statistically below average. Like, he should be at least 80%. That's actually statistically unlikely. That's a shame. Assists-wise, this is, I think, a real problem for us. Our best assister this season had 7. Last year, it was 32. Nobody's been consistently providing goals for us either, and that's really cost us. Key passes as well, you'll notice. No one really taking control of this one. Donnelly Blackburn, Kasimba. One of the problems we've got, like, he's decent, but I don't think he has the passing and vision to really create. Well, I want a Regista in that role. I'm waiting for the moment that we can find a player that can play the Regista role, because that's really the sort of the long-term solution here. Mottram's created a decent amount of chances, as has Witten, in fairness, and Putman Kitely. So, in actual fact, Putman Kitely's not even been that bad when you look at the amount of chances he's created in a much, much smaller period of time. Like, Donny Blackman's played 41 games, created 13. Putman Kitely's only played 24, and he created 12. He honestly could have maybe been closer to up here if he'd actually played the right number of matches, just statistically. So maybe we're being harsh on him, but that's his own fault for not playing the matches because he was bloody injured and suspended. Although mostly the suspensions is obviously his fault. So I don't know. Putman Kitely, not bad on the dribble either. Jackman was obviously better, but it's still not bad. You notice that Robert Witten's nowhere to be seen now. Yeah, I think that was just a blip that one season he had that was really good. Tackles per 90 minutes. Mark Jackman, again, just an absolute champion in the tackle. What a man. Does a great job. Mistakes into goals. Shepherd does have 2, which is a bit concerning. Mistakes overall. Donnelly Blackburn has the most. Fullbacks tend to get the most mistakes on FM. That's just how it goes. But Kasimba's made quite a few as well, which is a bit concerning too. Key tackles, though, Shepherd with quite a few. But you'll notice, again, none of our other centre-backs are featuring here. Key headers. 119 key headers. Not a single other centre-back at this club has even top 20 for that one. Interceptions. Ruben Lal again. Like, you'd expect our centre-backs to be the ones... our DMs be the ones doing the interceptions. But no, he's there again. He is such an important player for us. It's insane. Shots blocked. Even Ruben Lal's on there. He's just a god. In terms of defensive, like, wow, look at that. Chelmsford City, both of their goalkeepers are on there. Although, admittedly, they've obviously played less games overall, so I think that's a little bit unfair, but it's just because they happen to have played the most. Jose Bastos, of course, the young Angolan keeper that Blackhaven have got, the local lad. Yeah, he's done quite well. So that's kind of the way it is. Wow. Oh, wait, no. Actually, to be a 40% save rate is very, very high. Certainly when you compare it to us, who just concede every single penalty that's thrown at us. Okay, so let's go look at specifics now. Let's go look at centre-backs. This is very important. Okay, so here are the 3 centre-backs we've got. And you'll notice as well that Ruben Lal is also the youngest of them. He's played the most minutes. He's just been much, much better than them. I mean, it's quite comfortably clear. He does, of course, I mean, he's also the only one that scored a goal for us this season from a corner. Now, he sort of dried up towards the end, but he did at least still do that. I think it's unmistakable. But look at this. Concessions with him on the pitch is 1.19, whereas Jacob Owen, it's 1.55, and Jack Taylor, it's 1.28, which is still not even that bad. It's just, we need someone else in here. Interceptions is insanely better. His tackles-won ratio is actually not too bad. Jacob Owen is really poor. Like, it's actually sensationally poor. Key passes. Ruben Lal is not a passer of the ball. He is very much a no-nonsense centre-back. But look at his headers-won ratio, 79% compared to the others. Headers-won per game, 9. He dribbles a little bit more. Can't cross to save his life, but he doesn't need to. We score more goals with him in the team. He himself scores goals. And ironically, his PPG is actually less than Jack Taylor's. But he's just so much better than Jack Taylor. I honestly think that we need another centre-back in the summer. We need a Ruben Lau, and we need a partner for Ruben Lau who needs to be tall and needs to have a little bit of passing ability, maybe, but it's not the end of the world. I honestly don't mind if our centre-backs are just pure bruisers that could just win stuff. Bit of pace, bit of height. I want like a 6'4" guy who's really good in the air, because I do think that's such an important factor, because we can use him from set pieces along with Ruben Lau to have both of those guys. challenging, and I think that could really make the most of those scenarios. So Ruben Lau, probably my player of the year in some respects. He's really done, in a team that are conceding goals left and right, he's still managed to keep us at bay and score 7 more times himself, and it's been so important. So I think first thing on my shopping list, really, is another centre-back. Try to find someone like Ruben Lau, basically. Young, hungry, and then we can maybe move Jacob Owen on, to be honest, because he's taking up a lot of wage, quite frankly, and we need to sort that out. So let's take a look at fullbacks. So fullbacks is quite an easy one. You can see that no one's really performed all that well, although a lot of people criticise Donnelly Blackburn, but he has clearly been our best performing fullback of this season, by a comfortable margin, in fact. In almost every way, he's been a better player than everyone else around him. So, I mean, just looking at this from the straight off the bat, he's not done as much running, but he doesn't really need to, it would seem. He does make a fair number of mistakes, but team conceded per 90 minutes, he's the best. He and Harry Shepherd are the sort of kings of that. Shea and particularly Webster. Like, when Webster plays, we concede goals by the dozen. That's really, really poor. And also, he's intercepting nothing. Donnelly Blackburn again and Harry Shepherd both doing a good job on the interceptions. Tackles one, basically the same. Now, obviously, they're going to have more mistakes leading to goals because they played a lot more minutes. So you just don't really know how these guys would have fared. I mean, you can sort of extrapolate it out to see exponentially how many mistakes they would have got had they played. But unfortunately, I can't be asked to get a calculator right now and work that out. Tackles-wise, he doesn't make as many tackles. Just in general. He doesn't make them. But he does have a decent tackles-1 ratio. So that's kind of interesting. He's just not putting himself about quite as much, it would seem. Pass rating, solid. Much better than... his passes completed is vastly better than Harrison Webster. Shea and Shepherd, not too bad on the right-hand side. That does seem to be a more passy side of the pitch. But key passes per 90 minutes, 1.19. That is considerably better. And, most importantly, he's better in the air than anyone else in those positions. And that's mainly because, Harry Shepherd's 5'7", Raphael Shea is 5'5", and Harrison Webster is actually amazingly 6 foot, and yet is the worst in the air. Or one of the worst in the air. So there's obviously more to it than that. But it definitely helps, it would be fair to say. Also, another clear factor here is his 18% cross completion ratio. I mean, it's vastly better than Harrison Webster. It outdoes Harry Shepherd. His assists per 90 minutes as well is much better than anyone else, although these two are interestingly quite close. Chance created, much better than anyone else, although Harrison Webster isn't too bad. We score most goals actually with Raphael Shea on the pitch, which is kind of interesting, and that's why he has the highest PPG perhaps. But I think what I'm trying to say is that Donnelly Blackburn maybe hasn't been as bad as people have said he is, and perhaps we might be able to reduce his contract. We might even be able to get him on a lower contract because this is unlikely. But maybe I was a bit more laissez-faire with some of our contracts last summer, so I might be able to either get him on a new contract or just get that other guy in because he might be slightly better in the air. I don't know. I actually quite like Donnelly Blackburn now that I look at it. He did provide 8 assists this season, which I think is probably the top amount on the team. So there's definitely something to be said from that because I was saying that I wanted more assists from our defenders, and he has most definitely done that. He's got 8 by himself, whereas the other side, their combined minutes, which is more than him, only managed 4. So that definitely does say something about the fact. I mean, probably because 7, only 7 crossing, passing of 8, vision of 9. But then you look at that, he's only got 4 crossing, passing of 7, vision of 6. Raphael Shea only has 5 crossing, whereas Harry Shepherd only has 3 crossing. So you can see why he's been able to do that this year. And that's kind of what I want from our fullbacks, a bit more attacking threat, because it's really going to help us in the long run. So now we'll check out the DMs. So as it goes, we actually don't need to filter them because, obviously these guys, there's no stats for them anyway, so it's not going to get in the way, which is nice. These guys are the only players that actually played in those roles. So the standard partnership was Kasimba and Jack Holmes. Jordan Wynn kind of got demoted to a sort of sideline role for the most part this season, and that's okay. We'll have to sort of see how we do with this. So distance cover per 90 minutes. Kasimba definitely covers those graphs. Jack Holmes is more of a static player, it would seem, but again, that could come down to the role. Jack Holmes and Kasimba clearly had the best defensive attributes compared to Jordan Wynn. 2.5 goals a game is a lot. Sorry, per 90 minutes when he's played. Although they could be a bit unlucky in that one too, but again, not intercepting anything. But Perez de Gracia, he's intercepting a lot. Now, that could also be, though, because I think at times I've deployed him as an auxiliary centre-back 6 times this season. He's actually... But I still don't think that would account for that amount of interceptions. That's very interesting. I wonder why he's got so many interceptions. Answers on a postcard. If anyone knows why, or has a theory as to why Perez de Gracia, just looking at his attributes like that, compared to someone like Kasimba, has so many interceptions. Because to me, if he's only played centre-back 6 times this season, that wouldn't be enough to skew it so badly, I would not have thought. We'll see if there's any other stats in here that make it look clearer. Tackles 1, roughly around about the same, although not too bad for him as well. Passing, Jordan Wynn is definitely a better passer of the ball, and I think we definitely need a defensive midfielder that's got better passing than some of these guys. But it could come down to the role as well. I really do want a Regista, but we just don't have the quality right now. Jordan Wynn, decent in that sense, but lacking in other areas, I would say. Surprisingly good in the air as well, to be honest. Although Perez de Gracia, again, he has the benefit of being 6'2", which allows him that defensive presence there, which is quite an interesting factor of his game. Team goals scored per 90 minutes as well. He's done all right for us there. PPG's not the best, though. So I guess it's because we concede more with him in the team too. Part of me thinks that next year, Perez de Gracia is almost ready to step up. I've seen some things that I like about him that makes me think that Jack Holmes might not be the man for the job. I don't think he's going to get that much better, and he just doesn't seem to be offering us what we want. I think what we really want is one really good defensive player, i.e., I think Perez de Gracia could be that guy that's just big, wins stuff, gets in the way, intercepts stuff for days. I think the height is really what makes him a god in that position. And then a guy next to him who's got a bit more finesse. So if Simba could play that role a bit better, maybe we could look at what position he's actually playing in, maybe change the role, make him do a bit more passing. I don't know. Or look for another player in that position. So definitely something to consider that in that position, I would say. I mean, as it goes, we can actually look at most of these guys because they've actually all got some game time this season. So you can see that despite him missing as many games as he did, he still played 2,200 minutes this season, which is pretty okay. And he's still 5-star potential, which is important. And he's also the youngest of the bunch. So I can't criticise him too badly. Although Connor Emery has shown some stuff when he's played, which is interesting. So certainly worth looking into. That's actually very interesting. I don't know about like distance cover per 90 minutes. Mostly it's across the same kind of theory. Team conceded per 90 minutes though. Kevin Lyle, like he's not played enough games though. Connor Emery's played a few more games and it's still pretty solid. To be fair, Putman Kitely, actually, when he's on the pitch, we do play quite well, it would seem. And it does appear that he's got one of the higher PPGs of this bunch. Interceptions-wise, he's got the highest amount of interceptions of anyone. Tackles won ratio is towards the bottom end of that one, in fairness. But tackles won overall is still a solid amount. Pass completion is sort of in the pack, but towards the bottom side of thing. Passes completed per 90 minutes. What about key passes? That's what we're really interested in. So Kevin Lyle, this is kind of why I liked him. But he's still not too bad. Like, he's doing okay. He's not great in the air, to be fair. And he's not going to win a lot of headers. But dribbles per game, better than Robert Whitten. Not too bad. 13% cross completion. And again, Kevin Lyle at 25%, but he's not made enough crosses really for me to take that too seriously. But 13%, it's not the end of the world. He has lost a bit on his crossing. And I think that's because I had him training some other stuff. And because we're only part-time, it's really difficult to train players at part-time level. So I might just get him bumped back onto his crossing so we can really work on that for next season. That might well be his individual training for the entire year because he did lose like a point on it due to us working on some of his more physical attributes, which he might just get naturally by playing more. Assists per 90 minutes, it's still, reasonable levels. It's sort of in line with everybody else. Could do with a few more though. Only 5 in the entire year, which is a real shame. But chance creation wise, again, Kevin Lyle, there's just something about him, but I don't know if it's just because he had 1 or 2 good games. It's really hard to say. Team goals per 90 minutes. I mean, Connor Emery again, look at that. It definitely makes you wonder, doesn't it, about my man Connor. He's, PPG's solid. I mean, it's interesting. It's very, very interesting. PPG, again, Emery up towards the top, Lyle, Putman Kitely. I think, I don't know. I think it's going to be difficult to figure this out, really. I think we need left side is really important, although I think I'm going to try and sign a left-sided winger. And maybe even move Robert Whitten on. And keep Kevin Lyle around, because I do just wonder if he's got something about him. I think on the right-hand side, Putman Kitely and Emery are actually okay. However, I want to persist with Putman Kitely, because I think he needs first-team football and exposure to that, and a bit more consistent training and just staying injury-free for a bit. And he could have a much better season next year. Because remember, he's still only 18. The guy had his breakout season and scored 32 assists in a year when he was 17 years old. Dragged us single-handedly, practically, to the 6th tier of English football at the age of 17. It's only natural that he would have a bit of a slump. And hopefully next year, he gets slightly older, gets a little bit wiser, can try to sort of get himself under control a little bit. And I don't mind if he gets sent off against Blackhaven for showing a bit of heart, but it's the other 2 red cards that have really sort of irked me so this year. I think he did get sent off once in his debut season for us as well, but this year it's been... you can kind of forgive that when he's playing so well, but this year he's just not contributed enough. But I suppose when he plays, he actually does okay. We do need to see more out of him next year. That's kind of my conclusion on that one. So left-sided players, once again, very important. Left side and centre-back are kind of key areas for me now. Although right-back maybe as well. In fact, I'm thinking more right back than left back this season, although we do still have that guy from Leeds, potentially, Jake O'Reilly, that we could maybe sign up to really give us some strength there and free up some money elsewhere, depending on what he wants on his contract, Because the great thing about the Donnelly Blackburn situation is that if we do sign O'Reilly and we can get him on a really cheap deal, we are then able to just let Donnelly Blackburn go and get ourselves nearly £500 a week back. And that's huge money. That's like 3 players in some positions. So yeah, let's check out strikers now. There's not a lot to compare, but we'll go for it. So all of them have actually played some kind of minutes this year. Mottram, Mills obviously played the most, but Williamson, not bad. 10 starts for us is not to be sniffed at. So they all do a decent amount of running. Team conceded per 90 minutes. I don't really know how much relevance that has to the strikers, to be honest. Interceptions, it's nice to see that Ben Mills is doing a decent job with that pressing forward role. That would make sense, though, because as a pressing forward, he's generally getting in that position a little bit more. Although I am maybe considering making him a standard advanced forward in future, just to sort of, I don't know, I don't think pressing forwards work at this level. And as much as we've been trying to use it because I wanted to use a different role, I do think I might have to revert to type and have an advanced and a poacher, because I think it might just get a bit more out of Ben Mills. When you actually look at his main roles, a pressing forward is definitely not his best position because of the strength that he's lacking and his work rate. Although, I don't know, I think that might be for the best for him. Personally, but we will see about that. I'll have to have a look over the summer, see how he does in some friendlies. So tackles 1 ratio, Overton. Ben Mills actually wins less tackles. I suppose it's because he's pressing so hard. But passes completed, these two are winning, making more passes. Key passes are okay, but Matthew Overton, albeit though, that was probably just 1 key pass he made, or yeah, based on 4 substitute appearances of 72 minutes. It's really hard to say. That literally just could mean 1 key pass that he's made. Headers 1. This is a problem. This is the real problem. So Overton is 5'9", Ellis Williamson is 5'10", Mottram's 5'9", and Ben Mills is 5'7". We have no height up front. And if we were to sign another striker, I would look for a 6'1" guy that's got decent physicals, just to give us some of our best attacking plays come with a defensive midfielder dinking a ball up, someone like Mottram flicking it down for Mills, who then drops it round the corner for Mottram to run onto. Those little 1-2s, they're quite long distance 1-2s, are very, very fruitful for us. The problem is that it was much more difficult this year for these two to actually do that because they were constantly getting out-muscled by much, much taller centre-backs. And I do think if we could get a striker with more of a physical presence that still has a little bit of pace, firstly, it would allow us to do that a little bit more, and secondly, it would make us more of a threat from set pieces, particularly if we can combine it with finding some more physically strong and aerially dominating defensive players. And I think that could be a real factor. At the end of the day, I think mainly, maybe the fact that we're conceding so many free kicks and corners is just down to the fact that we don't have tall enough players and people are just out-muscling our sort of younger, less developed, naive defenders. That honestly could just be down to that. And maybe just getting another guy to play alongside Ruben Lau, or maybe a taller right back, could just give us a bit more defensive stability. And having a taller striker could bring him back for corners as well, and have one of the sort of slightly quicker wingers maybe stay up. That's just a thought. But yeah, I'm still pretty pleased with the way those guys have played this year. They didn't quite contribute the number of goals they did last season, but let's face it, they've still done well. 48 goals between them. No, 38 goals between them. It's not bad for their first outing in the second tier, to be honest, is it? Headers 1 ratio is very, very poor. Dribbles per game, though, Ben Mills is definitely better, for sure. Assists per game, both relatively solid. Chances created per game, again, they're just better than Ellis Williamson, and Matthew Overton must have created 1 key pass and 1 chance in 1 match, and that's a result of that. Still solid. Ellis Williamson, he's done okay, though. He really is a useful option to have around, but I just don't know if it's going to be enough for us. But you look at PPG, he's sticking around in there, to be fair. Shots on target is about the same as Ben Mills. Mottram really does like hitting the target. If he's just a slightly better finisher, we could really get something. I think Overton has to go. He's the oldest of the bunch, and he's the least effective. And I think that will free up room for another striker to come in and allow us to sort of rotate Mills and Mottram around a little bit and keep them fresh, but also give us a different option depending on who we're playing against. Sometimes if we've got a really high line, or they've got a really high line, having 2 really nippy strikers makes sense. But sometimes if they're sitting a bit deeper, being able to get that ball up the pitch a little bit more and winning it in the high up areas by winning knockdowns and stuff could really make a difference for us to keeping the pressure on the other side. So that's kind of my conclusions. I think I might even look at another goalkeeper, to be honest, but I think I want to give O'Reilly another chance, to be honest. So centre-back, very important for me. Hugely important. Right-back, maybe. Maybe with a bit more aerial presence, perhaps. Although I think I'm actually okay with... If Donnelly Blackman does come back, I'm okay with it, provided we can sort stuff elsewhere. I want another DM that can maybe be a bit more like a Perez de Gracia or a bit more of a passing player, depending on what's available. I've been scouting a lot of players, but I haven't really been paying much attention to them until now. So I'll go and have a look through my scouting list. Because there's quite a few players on there. Plus, there's going to be a lot of players being released at the end of the season too, which is very, very interesting. So hopefully we can maybe get some guys released from bigger clubs who've dropped down the league, might accept a low squad role as a result of the fact that they're quite young. That's generally how you can get away with that. So we will see. It's going to be much more of a penny pincher summer, because I don't think the board, and we don't know yet, are going to give us a great deal of money this summer. So there's that. I think a left-sided player is very, very important. Because honestly, I think our wing play has been our weakest attribute this season in some respects. The creativity just hasn't been there like it was the previous season, and that's really cost us. We've got strikers, but we're not feeding them enough. They're hungry for goals, and they will put them in, but they've not been provided with enough chances. overall. So I definitely want to work on that as well. So that's kind of the conclusion that we've come to. The word of the day. What is going to be our word of the day? The word of the day, I've got a remote for all the different LED lights that I've got in my... in the sort of studio room these days. I say studio room, it's a bedroom. So the word of the day is going to be Practical Series 2. That's just what's written on this remote. So there you go. Tomorrow, it's going to be transfer window. It's going to be fun, I hope. I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to do it straight away now, so this is going to be very, very interesting indeed. But as always, let me know your thoughts. Now, it doesn't mean, obviously with a lot of these things, it's like I see people suggesting stuff on videos, like 2 in a row, and I'll be like, I can't implement things immediately because I record videos in chunks, but you all know that now. It's just like, I understand that it's frustrating when you see me do the same thing wrong twice, but I can't go back in time and change that, so we just have to accept it and move on. However, I think we've got a decent plan for next season. Now, how that works in the summer when we actually come to try and implement the plan, I don't know, but we will see. So if you've enjoyed this little video, drop a like, that would be tremendous. If you're new to the channel, subscribe, that would be awesome as well. And yeah, hold your gun, capybara, and I'll see you guys tomorrow in the transfer window episode when I will be a fisherman. Because that's just the sort of things I do for you. I'll see you soon. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.